just to put out what Anirban writes about what, in his view, are the expectations from the Prime Minister's visit to the United States. Now, United States. Anirban Sarma expresses, says that Narendra Modi, who touched down in New York on the 21st or 20th of June, allows him to advance his mission of taking India to the world, internationalizing deeply felt personal belief system and demonstrating Indian leadership. That's what Anirban writes. He says, this allows the PM to internationalizing the deeply felt personal belief system and demonstrating Indian leadership on the global stage. He says the broad framework of principles has shared India's presidency of the G20, the country's emergence as a legitimate voice of the global South, puts out a broad framework of principles that has shaped India's rise, and it has also served as a bedrock of the Prime Minister's efforts to re-engage with fundamental social contracts. He talks about digital empowerment will be the principal arena for rise of new individualism. And he says that Prime Minister Modi is keen to engineer a new contract between the people and the planet. He set India the ambitious goal of reaching the net zero emission target by 2070, but he's also conscious that new internationalism can only be born out of a new order on a climate collaboration. And India's voice has been among the best, calling for a new and reformed multilateralism. But he says, as Prime Minister Modi visits the UN and goes to meet President Biden, foremost on his agenda would be the need to promote the renaissance of individualism, internationalism, and multilateralism, and the value of being the change that one wants to see in the world. And Anirban Sarma, Senior Fellow, ORF, now joins us. Anirban, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Amrit. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, I'm going to read from your article. You say, but as PM Modi visits the UN and goes on to meet President Biden, foremost on his agenda will be the need to promote the renaissance of individualism, internationalism, and multilateralism, the value of being the change that one wants to see in the world. What is this renaissance of individualism, internationalism, and multilateralism that you're talking about?
Right. So broadly, the three ideas in the article of individualism, internationalism, and multilateralism have been mapped onto the idea of digital empowerment. All right. In the decades ahead, the space of digital empowerment is really going to be one central arena for a new wave of individualism. All right, tech-enabled individualism, that is. The second is internationalism, and here we feel that climate collaboration, joint climate action between countries, is going to emerge again as a major theater of internationalism and international cooperation.
Okay.
And the third, multilateralism, is for many years now there have been calls, not just by India but by lots of other countries as well, for wide-ranging reforms of multilateral institutions, all right, which means the United Nations, the UN Security Council, importantly, and also multilateral development banks, financial institutions like the World Bank and the IMF. These were all institutions that were established post-1945. They actually belong to another century. So they really are a bit of an anachronism today, and they don't fully meet contemporary needs, right? So there is a definite need for overhaul of these institutions as well. So that was why I talked about individualism, internationalism, and multilateralism, and the need for a renaissance of all these three in the article.
Okay. Anirban, That has been India's stated position that there should be reform in the international institutions. India, today we saw Prime Minister taking part in that yoga session and using India's soft power, using yoga, using that forum of the lawns of the United Nations to send a message for a more harmonious world, etc. Now that with this first part, which was primarily a soft part or soft diplomacy, now as he is on the plane to Washington DC, the hard diplomacy takes over. How much ice would it cut with the United Nations? While the United Nations, the White House has made the right noises saying it's an important visit, it attaches importance to the visit, but when it comes to reform of international institutions, including the Security Council, there seems to be a wide gap between the two sides.
There is. Now, let me tackle both your points, all right? The first was the one about soft power and occasions like International Yoga Day. Now, International Yoga Day is not really a standalone event, okay? There is a larger design at work here. I did say at the beginning of my article that PM Modi is trying to take India to the world. He is internationalizing a set of deeply felt personal beliefs, all right? And yoga, his belief in yoga is certainly one of them. And of course also demonstrating Indian leadership on the global stage. Now, much like yoga, which is really a kind of personal practice which India has been able to take to the world, certain other things that India has done in recent times, for example, its successful push for having 2023 declared as the International Year of the Millet, for example, all right? And India's launch of the Lifestyle for Environment movement, LIFE. Now, in each of these cases, what we find is a set of personal practices and ethics are being elevated from the personal to the universal, and then becoming widely acclaimed as a kind of global best practice. All right, so we have to, this is India's approach, and India is very likely to do this in a number of other arenas going forward. It's already done this with yoga, nutrition and millets, and climate action through life. But this is a structured and organized approach that India is taking. So, these are not one-off instances of soft power and the propagation of soft power. Your next point was about the transition from soft diplomacy to hard diplomacy. Yes, one of the primary outcomes that we do expect to see from this US-India visit, India-US meeting, is on the front of defense. Now, defense cooperation has been a thriving area of cooperation between the two countries, and this has been happening for many years now, but since May 2022, when the Initiative for Critical and Emerging Technologies was declared, the ISET, defense cooperation and security cooperation has received a big boost, all right? And there are increasing overtures about India doing defense manufacturing in India for the US, etc. So there's, this is a very wide-ranging defense and technology partnership, and we are on the cusp, we are really on the verge of a pretty historic defense deal. So that's important.
Okay.
Yes.
Anirban, I want to come back to the point of the DPI, the digital public infrastructure. Of course, that is one of the key, key on the agenda of India's G20 presidency. And the Prime Minister, possibly, we don't know, I'm not trying to prejudge what he will tell the US Congress, but could possibly, highlight that how India used the digital empowerment. And today when he met, tech giants, tech stars like Elon Musk and even Paul Romer said that, India could show the way to the world for collaboration to empower, which is the population of which is the most populous country in the world, and thus bringing change. So could we see more collaboration in terms of tech collaboration?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So the ISET, as far as emerging technologies go, is already really has put us on a roadmap to that kind of enhanced collaboration. But DPIs, like you pointed out, is hands down one of the most important priorities of the G20 presidency. Okay, and India is without a doubt quite a leader in the DPI space. Aadhaar is the biggest digital ID system in the world. UPI has more transactions, digital payments and transactions online every day than most of the rest of the world combined. Okay, and our DEPA, Data Empowerment and Protection Architecture, is also quite a path-breaking way of protecting financial data without compromising privacy. So Now, India has already begun to share its expertise and know-how on DPIs, especially Aadhaar and UPI, with the rest of the world. So we have this platform called the MOSIP, for example, the Modular Open Source Identity Platform. And countries can sign up to this to formally use Indian know-how and tools to build their own national identity systems.
Right.
Philippines, for example, is quite a leader in the space. Now, traditionally, the US has believed in digital private infrastructure rather than digital public infrastructure. But it's very encouraging that in the recent the Quad leaders statement, which was released in May 2023, our Quad partners, including the US, importantly, have actually recognized formally the transformative power of DPIs. There's a line there in the Quad statement which formally talks about the importance of DPIs and the need to build them. Okay, so Indian views, Indian expertise is gaining traction. It is being shared with the rest of the world and is gaining more and more acceptance. Right?
Right. Anirban, we'll have to leave it there. Let's see, as you say, Prime Minister Modi here is a man on a mission to the United States. After this visit is over, let's probably we could get together again and analyze how far did that mission go, and did he achieve what all he set out to achieve on his first state visit to the United States. Well, thank you very much for joining us and laying out for our viewers what, in your opinion, the Prime Minister has set to achieve during his visit.